Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are here. I am glad to have you here on our last review session for AP World History. Guys, we are finishing up today by looking at Unit 9. I would like to start by saying that we actually spent the least amount of time on Unit 9. I think in a lot of ways, Unit 9 is actually fairly intuitive. So, being that you guys grew up, y'all were born in 2004, 2005, you lived through a lot of the really, really important stuff that this unit covers, okay? Despite that, I do want to make sure we all have this covered, that we are all clear. Unit 9 was something that I noticed on our mock exam that y'all struggled a little bit with. I think in a lot of ways, Unit 9 actually has a lot of carryover into AP Human Geography. So I noticed a lot of students did very well if they'd taken Human Geography, but if y'all hadn't, buckle up, pay attention, take good notes, ask good questions, and we'll get through this. But first, I hope y'all enjoyed this awesome gift to start. Took me a while to find this one, but I think it's a good way to show how important trade is, which is pretty much a huge theme of Unit 9. Okay. So, guys, we're still in period 4, but of course we are finishing that up today. So we're actually taking that whole today part pretty seriously today. So we're going to actually really be looking a lot at the 21st century, or the late 20th century and early 21st century. So globalization, aka the theme of your entire childhoods. So we'll start with some dates, and then we will jump right on into your Unit 9 globalization. If you guys are missing class, be sure to send me an email because you are going to have in-class work today. All right, I know you guys are so tired of looking at this page. I'm tired of looking at this page too. Period 4, 1900 to the present, 8 to 10% of your questions are going to be coming from this unit. So lots and lots of themes to discuss today, all of them fairly easy. Okay, disease, technology, debates about the environment, economics, all that stuff that y'all are already experts on. All right, guys, so advances in technology. So obviously in AP World History, one of the major continuities between all 4 periods is technology and the change that occurs when this new technology advances. And what I mean by that is we go from astrolabes and compasses to new types of ships like the caravels, all the way now until period 4 when we are looking at airplanes, all right, the internet, cell phones, advanced cameras, automobiles, ships, and of course, because College Board is weird, shipping containers. All right, in the 20th century and the 21st century, you're going to see new modes of communication, okay? In the beginning of period 4, the radio is really, really popular. Some of your grandparents, your great grandparents probably use the radio. Later on, you see cellular communication. Y'all probably got your first cell phones when you were like 3 or 4 years old. The internet, oh my God, what will we do this year during a global pandemic without the internet? But on top of communication, you also have new types of transportation, airplanes, cars, all right, buses, big fast ships, shipping containers, and all of this is going to make the world a lot smaller. All right, not necessarily in actual geographical distance, but in the speed that it takes us to get to places. So I really like to go over AP World History that is in the news. And when we were teaching, and I was teaching Unit 9, there was something going on in the world. And I sort of failed to really hit on it. But in March, a shipping container, okay, a big giant ship, got stuck in the Suez Canal. So the Suez Canal is this really, really, really important canal that was actually built by the British in period 3, aka imperialism. It now is in Egypt. It's belonged by the Egyptian government. And this canal is extremely important. 10% of the world global trade goes through this, including 7% of the world's oil. So long story short, there was a windstorm and the guy that was piloting this ship, well, we don't really know exactly what happened, but the ship got stuck. And it didn't just get stuck on the sand. It got stuck by blocking the entire Suez Canal, okay? Guys, the Suez Canal accounts for 30% of the world's daily shipping container freight. And this wasn't just like it got stuck for an hour. No, it got stuck for like days. All right. And it brought global trade to a halt. All right. Overnight, it was very, very difficult to buy things. All right. At this point, my boyfriend and I were trying to buy a washer and dryer for our house. And the next morning we woke up and everything was on back order for months. I know it's really hard to imagine, but this is what globalization is all about. The quick movement of goods so that people can buy things quickly and fastly. Right? That's consumer culture. And the fact that this ship got stuck and ground global trade to a halt is really, really wild. And I wanted you guys to just know what happened. All right, so more technology. Well, we talked a lot about this new technology, energy technology. So especially in the period 4, you see the use of petroleum, aka fossil fuels. But you also begin to see nuclear power. So after the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, um, Americans decided, hey, maybe we could use this new nuclear energy for something a little better than murdering people. So nuclear power was created, and it's a way to use that the amount of energy that is created when you break an atom, when an atom goes through the process of fission. So it's actually a very, very clean energy source. I know that's hard to believe considering the atrocities of dropping a nuclear weapon, but nuclear power is one of the cleanest energy sources in the world. On top of all this, other things that are created that are going to make things a lot easier for people, birth control. So women finally have access to control their own fertility. So long ago, when you could not really control how many babies you had, that's why you see families that had so many children. Well, now you can control how many children you have, right? You can control the amount of children that you can afford. And so people have better lives now. Families have children that they can afford, and they can actually create better situations for these children. All right. So this is going to transform reproductive practices, but it's also going to give women the opportunity to actually have the amount of babies that they can control and then also continue to work. Okay. Now, again, the patriarchy is going to continue. Patriarchy is a continuity throughout all 4 periods. But again, slowly, little by little, more and more access to sort of freedom is granted to women, and birth control is part of that process. So more advances in technology. Well, we talked a lot about the Green Revolution in this class. We talked about Norman Borlaug, and we talked about how, you know, this guy really, really wanted to find a way to make sure that people were able to feed their children, that people weren't starving to death. All right, it's 20th century. There's no need to do that. Creation of GMOs, all right, chemicals. Now, obviously, like everything in this class, there are causes and consequences. And while the Green Revolution did sort of end the mass starvation, it also created more and more food sources, which also led to a rapidly expanding population. Look specifically at places like India. All right, India's population exploded because of the Green Revolution. All right, also medical innovations, so things like vaccines. All right, vaccines are in the news today because of the COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine is really, really interesting because of how quickly it was produced. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, it was produced quickly, so it's not safe. But that's just not true, okay? It was produced quickly because of how technology has advanced over the years. Our understanding of the human body and our understanding of proteins made this vaccine process much more quick. Antibiotics, all right, a way to fight infections, also a really, really critical part of this whole process. But guys, there are limitations to technology. Not all diseases can be cured. And in many ways, diseases are going to have significant effects on the populations of the world. So first off, even though things are a lot better here in the 20th century and the 21st century, there is still poverty around the world. And unfortunately, there are still children dying of diseases that are easily cured. All right, which is terrible. These are diseases of poverty, right? Cholera, typhus. There are also now that people are living longer, especially in the developed nations like the United States, Great Britain, Japan. Because people are living longer, they're also dying of diseases associated with being elderly. All right, we said Alzheimer's, heart disease, forms of cancer. Right, these diseases are going to be associated with new epidemics. They're going to be threats to human population. But basically, in a lot of ways, it's kind of a good thing. All right, people are living longer, so that's good, except that now they're acquiring new diseases as they get older and older. So we also have more and more things going on with the environment. humans are becoming more aware of the consequences of industrialization. So in period 3, when all those people were kind of working their butts off in the factories, using fossil fuels to burn to keep their factories afloat, they were putting things in the air, all right, harmful chemicals, harmful greenhouse gases. And while at the time they didn't really know that the long-term consequences of these things, but today we do know. In 2021, we do know that human activity is contributing to decline in air quality. All right, deforestation, the process of taking down forests, like what's going on in the rainforest, or desertification. So when you overuse a land, it eventually becomes a desert. All right, this is going to basically increase the consumption of the world's fresh water supply. So not everyone has access to clean water. So humans are going to constantly compete for these resources. This is definitely a continuity from period 3, guys. And in many ways, because of the scarcity of these resources, you're going to see more and more competition. As I just said, guys, industrialization causes and consequences, okay? Consequences are you have new forms of economic systems, capitalism. People are making money. People are increasing their life expectancy. People are living better lives. But industrialization also leads to pollution. All right, here in 2021, we understand that by burning these harmful greenhouse gases, it's emitting these gases into the atmosphere. And this is also contributing to climate change. All right, now I am not a science person, but I like this picture because I think it shows you what climate change is in a very, very basic form. So all these greenhouse gases that are being emitted, like carbon, these are things that absorb the heat from the sun. Right? Historically, the sun's heat used to be able to bounce off our atmosphere. Because of these greenhouse gases, the heat is being absorbed, and it's making the earth a lot hotter. Now, again, causes and consequences to industrialization. Economics. So we've spent a lot of time, especially at period 3 onwards, talking about different types of economic systems. Capitalism, unregulated capitalism, regulated capitalism, laissez-faire, communism, socialism, all the fun stuff, okay? But in period 4, because of the Cold War, ultimately capitalism is going to be the winner. All right, for the most part, because of the end of the Cold War, because the United States and democracy and liberalization has won, many governments are going to start encouraging free market economic policies, AKA capitalism. All right, so they're going to start promoting economic liberalization, selling goods, all right, selling resources, making money, all right, fair prices. But in a lot of ways, because the United States won the Cold War, United States corporations will also win. And so you're going to start to see economic institutions, multinational corporations, Coke, General Mills, Kellogg's, Mondelez, Associated British Food, Nestle, Wonka, all that fun stuff. All of it is going to start winning out everywhere because capitalism wins. And so you'll start to see more and more free market economics throughout the world, and you'll start to see sort of a globalized version of like these companies. You know, you can get a Coca-Cola anywhere in the world. We talked a little bit about this, guys, and I hope you understand that in the late 20th and early 21st century, with the creations of things like NAFTA, right, free market policies throughout the world, you're also going to see the creation of new types of industrial production. So we said that in the United States used to be very famous for its manufacturing capacity. But over time, it became too expensive to manufacture things in the United States. American workers wanted more money, things became a little bit more expensive, and that's a good thing. It's because our lives got a little bit better and we needed a little bit more money. But because of free trade policies, these American factories realized that if they closed their shops in places like Columbus, Georgia, and they moved to the Honduras or Guatemala and paid people less money, okay, they would actually make more money. And that's capitalism, guys. And that's exactly what's going to happen. But that's not a bad thing for the United States. All right, even though the manufacturing jobs are gone, what it leaves behind is knowledge-based economies. So a lot of your parents make their money on knowledge-based services. They're lawyers, they're teachers, they're doctors. They provide a service. They don't necessarily make things in a factory, but they'd be making a lot less money if they were working in a factory. All right, knowledge-based economies are sort of kind of the like post-industrial that's good. So after 1900, you're also going to start seeing more and more people questioning their societies, questioning their roles in their societies. You'll start to see more rights-based discourses. So especially after World War II, especially when the news of the atrocities of the Holocaust, 6 to 9 million Jews systematically murdered by the Nazi Party, people began to question social Darwinism. They began to questioning the civilizing mission, nationalism, all that sort of rationales for imperialism that we talked about in period 3. And they began to question whether or not race actually makes a difference. And turns out it doesn't. All right, so people began to question, or they began to challenge the old systems of, racial inequality, class inequality, gender inequality, religious inequality. So today, guys, even in 2021, we see lots of protests about the Black Lives Matter movement, all right, challenging race. You also see places like, in Europe also questioning whether or not their states fit into a European Union, all right? You see women protesting their roles as wives and mothers, all right? Much of the world, access to education also begins to change, all right? Historically, women were not educated. Historically, women had different roles. That is changing. All right, more and more women will be participating in professional roles, going to school, going to get higher education. And this is a good thing, all right? This is one thing that we can all say period 4 kind of wins on. More people have more access to education and participation in political and professional roles. In addition to people questioning their roles, their class, their gender, all right, their religious roles, you're also going to see more and more movements throughout the world that will protest inequality of the environment. All right, I'm sure many of you guys know who this is. This is Greta Thunberg. I think she's 17 now. She's a environmental protester. All right, she's a little girl from Sweden who has been protesting climate change for many years now, actually. All right. In addition to Greta, you also have Greenpeace, programs that are trying to get more companies to take ownership of the problems that they've caused through industrialization. All right. Movements throughout the world are going to protest this environmental and economic consequences of globalization. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys, it took me a long time to find somebody who likes One Direction from another country, but I found the picture for all of you guys. Globalized culture after 1900. The fact that you all listen to the same types of music as kids in New Zealand, as kids in Pakistan, as kids in Uzbekistan. All right, the fact that pretty much everywhere in the world you go, you can get a Coca-Cola or buy a Big Mac. That is what globalization looks like, and that is what globalized culture looks like. Again, after the Cold War, the United States wins, and that means the United States and her companies win. McDonald's spreads into the former Soviet Union. All right, Coca-Cola, again, you can buy it pretty much everywhere in the world. You cannot buy it technically in North Korea, but North Korea has stolen the formula and made their own sort of fake Coca-Cola thing. But guys, political and social changes in the 20th century are going to lead to changes in the arts. All right, it's not just One Direction. Think about the 20th century. Your parents all love the Beatles. All right, they all love Elvis Presley. These are some artists that have really made it around the world. Arts and entertainment and popular culture reflect this influence of globalized society. And consumer culture begins to transcend national borders. But not everyone loves globalized culture. All right, plenty of people around the world don't want to be globalized. They don't want to be integrated into a society. The Brexit protest, all right, the fact that Great Britain is now sort of seceding from the European Union, that is resistance to globalized culture. They don't want to be part of a European culture. They want their own unique British culture. Throughout the 1990s, after NAFTA was signed, many Americans tried to protest. Many Americans tried to get out of NAFTA, okay? Economic globalization and the protests to it are going to take many forms. There are also new corporations, or we said that after World War II, you're going to see the creation of something called the United Nations. In many ways, it is a long table in New York City where people get together and sit and duke out their problems. So whenever the United States has a problem with Russia, they go to the United Nations and they figure stuff out. This is a good thing, guys. We want this to happen. This is going to facilitate international cooperation. Of course, the United Nations doesn't have all that much power, but it's much more effective than its predecessor, the League of Nations, was. All right, guys. So as I said, you're going to have some in-class work today. I did not want to put it on my video, but please shoot me an email if you're missing class and you want to know what you've missed. Have a great day, guys. I will see y'all later.